Hi guys and welcome to the channel. In this episode I'll be talking you through this installation of a diesel pump into a Citroen Relay Peugeot Boxer or Fiat Ducato van. For this installation we'll be installing the Truma Combi D4E boiler, which is a really useful unit and something that we like to install in order to allow us to have a gasless conversion. The Citroen Relay Peugeot Boxer and Fiat Ducato vans, we believe, lend themselves really well to this diesel pump installation. This is due to the location of their fuel tank sender unit, which is easily accessible from between the passenger and driver seats in the cab. And unlike in other vans and models, you do not have to drop the tank in order to install a fuel pickup line. So one item that we had to order on top of the actual Truma itself was this, which is the TES 01 kit. It's got the actual pickup line here, and you've got a few cable ties. So looking into the cab area, you can see this little hatch here. Now this hatch hides the sender unit, which is where we're going to tap into the fuel tank. So you can remove this little twisty thing here, helps you to remove that lid, and then there's 3 small screws on this top plate here. And remove that and you can see this is the top of the sender unit, which is essentially the top of the fuel tank for this van. You've got the breather tube here, which you can remove. These are the fuel pickup for the vehicle engine, and then there's an electrical connection here. And what you can see, this outer rim here with these sort of markings on, that's essentially the lid. Think of it like a lid of a jam jar, and we need to obviously move that anti-clockwise to release the lid from the top of the fuel tank. One thing to bear in mind is we want to make sure that when we put the sender unit back in, it needs to be in the exact same orientation. And what they've done to help with that is you can see where my finger's pointing, a small triangle. That triangle needs to line up with, I don't know if you can see, a triangle on the actual black. So what I'm going to do now is remove the connections here and also remove the lid. Now the lid's on really tightly, so what we need to do is use a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and essentially that will connect onto these bit parts here. Probably going to be easiest on that one there, and then give it a tap to loosen it off, and then I'll just hand undo it as well after that. So I've now removed this from the threaded connection on the top of the tank. And you can see I put some of these latex glove fingers, which I cut off the glove. I put those over the pipes just to stop diesel from flying up everywhere, but it's good to, there is going to be some diesel just on this lid now, so I'm just going to give that a clean up to keep it nice and clean. Soak it all up, and this is spring loaded essentially, so it sits on a spring. You can see with the breather pipe and all the things that came off the top, I've also put the latex gloves over the top of these just to stop them from dripping everywhere, but essentially try and tuck those away. Now we're working on the sender unit. Okay, so you can lift this up, remove the lid like that, and just put that to one side. And now what you want to look at is you can see that blue rubber grommet, rubber ring, that creates a seal when this is screwed down. So you want to make sure that that blue seal there doesn't get dislodged in any of the process, and when you screw the lid back on, that blue seal is in the correct position. And this is actually a really full tank of diesel. You can see the diesel there. As I lift the sender unit up, you can see the fuel in the inner cup there. I'm just going to shake it a little bit to get rid of some of that's pretty much a full tank. just spin it around a bit. And then I like to angle it like this. And this is an angle that I have when I create the hole for the TES 1 kit in the top. I just have it at this angle so that I can cover where the hole is, so that there's no swarf going to go into the actual fuel itself when I drill the hole. So looking at the instruction guide, then I'm going to need an 8mm drill bit, and that is going to be located here, 16mm diameter from the forward edge. I'm using this square piece as a reference, so the top left corner is in line with that. So I've transferred that to my actual sender unit, and I'll lift this up, put it at an angle, and cut that with an 8mm drill bit. So I've drilled that 8mm hole in the sender unit. Now I need to put the TES 01 pickup line through there. Use a washer, lock washer and nut to secure it from the underside, and that will bolt into place. I'll show you that now. So you can see the pickup piece is now being installed, and I've secured it on the underside with a nut and a lock washer, which I'll show you now. And you can see the nut, lock washer, and then that's secured into place. I like to bend it slightly in the upward position so that it misses the electrical connection and sits between the two fuel pickups. But what I'll do now is I'll prepare the actual fuel line. That's going to go from the bottom of this metal bulkhead piece into the bottom of the tank, and then I'll prepare the fuel line that goes from the top of this metal piece to the diesel pump on this bracket. So here's the piece of fuel line with the hose that's going to connect onto the bulkhead metal piece, the barb, and this is 35 centimeters long, and this will obviously drop down to the bottom of the fuel tank, connect onto that metal barb bulkhead piece there. I've got a couple of cable ties to tie the fuel line to the other pieces in the sender unit, and this will sit about 20mm off the bottom of the tank, so it won't run your tank completely dry, but it will obviously not cut out if you're slightly low on fuel, say 50%. So this will obviously go underneath the sender unit on the bottom side, and then on the top side we'll have another bit of hose and fuel line which will go to the pump. So I'll fix this piece now and then show you what to do next. So that's now installed. If I lift up the sender unit, you can see that pickup line, which I've cable tied on, now runs to nearly the bottom of the fuel tank. I'll lower that down now. So that's the lid of the sender unit back into position. You can see I've pushed it down, and I've tightened the lid in a clockwise direction and just done that up as I did with the hammer and screwdriver to tighten it up. I'm now going to replace all of the connections, so the breather tube, and you can see these are the actual fuel pickup lines for the vehicle as well, and the electrical connection. One thing to bear in mind is that rubber seal that I mentioned, the blue seal. Make sure that that's flat on the top of the tank before you push down the sender unit and close the lid. And also this arrow lines up with the arrow on the tank. So I'm going to start the installation of the actual diesel pump itself, which is this little unit. You can see the direction of flow arrow, and then this is the little rubber holder that will hold the diesel pump in a slightly upward position. I'm going to attach this holder onto a metal bracket. This is stainless steel. Once I fix this to the underside of the floor of the van, I'm just going to spray it with some underbody seal, which is this product here, just to give it some weatherproofing. It is stainless steel, so it should be fine, but we'll glue and screw it up and make sure everything is good. And there you can see the bracket underneath the van, just next to the slide out step, but that's been glued and screwed to the underside with a couple of roofing screws. It's all solid and sealed on. I'll just spray this with some underseal spray now, just for some extra protection. So here I've got the longer piece of the fuel pickup line. It's about 1.5 meters, and I'm going to trim it down once I've fished it through. But essentially this pre-clamped bit of hose I'm going to get clamped onto that metal nozzle there, and then I'll run it down through the back of the tank to where, down this direction, towards where the pump's going to be located. I'll be able to fish it out from underneath the van, connect it to the diesel pump, and then cover it in split conduit for mechanical protection. So you can see everything back installed on the sender unit. Run the fuel line down to the fuel pump. You can see the fuel pump here with the bracket, and that's bolted on. And then the fuel line, I haven't cable tied or done anything with it yet, but that runs up the back of the fuel tank. And then I'm going to use this split conduit. I'm going to feed the split conduit up so that it covers all of this exposed fuel line here. You see there's the fuel pump now, and there's the split conduit which runs up and to the back of the tank, and that's all protected now, that fuel line. And there's the pump. Obviously where that yellow end cap is, that's where we'll then connect the fuel pump onto the diesel boiler. Thank you for watching this video showing how to install a diesel fuel pickup line into a Citroen Relay, Peugeot Boxer or Fiat Ducato. In this van we obviously used it on the Truma Combi D4 install, but this technique could also be used for other diesel heaters or boilers as well. So if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. Happy to look at all your comments and reply to those, and please subscribe to the channel for more van life content. See you next time.